7033, authorizing a disposition and development agreement to convey 1.79 acres of real property in the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal Area to Majestic Realty for $502,160. Before I turn this over to Jina, I'd like to share with all of you the exciting news that with the approval of this transaction, we will be bringing Trader Joe's to anchor the significant development in Northeast Portland. And I want to emphasize development. Some people have seen this as a subsidy of a grocery store. It is a subsidy of a development that is anchored by a grocery store and will have a considerable opportunity for other small retailers to be on the same site. Trader Joe's is a national grocer with a reputation for offering quality food at affordable prices, and it is a great fit for this site and this market. As nearby residents and businesses know, this important site along Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard has remained vacant for far too long. The lack of activity on this site has been particularly problematic for businesses located across the street in our Vanport project. These are all locally owned businesses that bought commercial spaces in this project over 5 years ago, with the expectation that a supporting commercial development would occur on the adjacent site. Unfortunately, the national economy got in the way. We believe these businesses have waited long enough for the next phase of development at Vanport, and now we have the right anchor tenant to bring the type of commercial activity to help those and other businesses along MLK to succeed. Jina is going to walk us through the details. Phil Brown from Majestic Realty Company, the developer, is here to share his thoughts on the project and answer questions. And I do have some folks signed up to testify. Jina, good to see you again.
Thank you. This is definitely a proud Portland day all around. My name is Jina Bjelland, and I'm the Director of Real Estate and Lending here. And I would like to walk you through the Disposition and Development Agreement that we are asking for approval of today. The first picture you're looking at is the existing space on just adjacent to this parcel that we're looking at. So what we're asking for in the action summary is request approval of the resolution. The developer is Majestic Realty Company. The result is to convey 1.79 acres of real property in the Interstate URA, and the site will be developed with an urban retail shopping center anchored by a national tenant. Let's look at our guiding strategies that this property has looked at from the very beginning. Starting in 1995, we had the Albina Community Plan. It called for reviving commerce on Northeast MLK Boulevard between Alberta and Killingsworth Street. In 2000, there was the King Neighborhood Commercial Center, which calls for a destination grocery store on the site, providing goods and services desired by the surrounding neighborhood. Fast forward to today, perhaps. There we go. And current, the Neighborhood Economic Development Community Strategy, calling for driving neighborhood business growth and focuses on communities of colors and priority neighborhoods. Then move up to 2011, and here's a map that showed a grocery initiative showing areas that lacked for a variety of different types of full-service grocery stores, and at that moment in time identified this particular site as a top priority for a full-service grocery store. If you look at the area, this piece right here, let's see if that works. Nope. Here. So this is a site right here that we're looking at, and just north of it, or just actually just east of it, you'll see right here is the first development we did. So there are 7 commercial vacant parcels and 1 residential in the overall site. MLK's right here, and Alberta's there. There are phases 1 and 2 at the top of this slide. Phase 1 are 16 independent commercial condominium units in 2 buildings, which Chair Andrews described. These are all local business owners that basically took on a challenging task and a very challenging economic time and have purchased their own place of business and have stayed in business throughout the challenging times. The Phase 2 adjacent are single-family homes that have all been built and sold. And so the excitement of Phase 3 is that we're actually completing the overall project. The proposed project, Phase 3, is the Alberta Commons, and you'll note that the anchor tenant will be right here. And then this building on the other side is possibly anywhere from 4 to 10 smaller businesses, depending on uses and desires of the community. And so over here is where the existing Vanport 1 and 2 are. So this will just totally ignite the neighborhood, driving a tremendous amount of business, and both vehicular but pedestrian business. You can't, I'm sorry. How about that? That's where the other spaces are. 4 to 10 will be in here on that corner. This right here is where we've got the existing Phase 1 and 2, and this is our anchor tenant. It's a very challenging site, and so the restrictions of the site have dictated what's been able to be put on the actual result of this proposal. So our key terms are the overall project cost of development of the entire site is just over $8 million. The purchase price is roughly $500,000. MRC is to provide private financing for construction and is contributing around $2 million in pure equity. MRC will execute a long-term lease with an anchor grocery store, and MRC is required to meet with neighbors in the surrounding area prior to the city design review submission. Community benefits. Property redeveloped with an anchor grocer bringing fresh, affordable, and accessible food, also allowing for 4 to 10 smaller retail spaces to increase both the commerce and foot traffic. Property tax revenue and local payroll will exceed $2.5 million in the next 2 to 4 years. All of PDC's policies will be complied with: equity, green building, and the Oregon prevailing wage. PDC lending programs may be available for those smaller retail local tenants. Completion of the 2-block commercial development at a key intersection. The store will serve a diverse population, with nearly 40% of the population within a 1-mile radius of the site are people of color, twice the city average. The store will also serve a lower income population, with more than half of the households within a mile radius of the site have incomes under $35,000 a year, and 40% have incomes under $25,000 a year. There was appraisal conducted in December of 2012, with an overall value of $2,870,000. The highest and best use for this property in this given market is for a mixed development containing retail and apartments. And the single-family residence was considered highest and best use for its existing use, which is a home and or as part of a larger commercial development. In today's market, to construct a commercial retail center of this size, containing a national grocer as an anchor tenant, that would historically not go into a new construction site, but rather into an existing second-generation retail site, and they have a 10-year initial lease term. The market rate for this type of a transaction would be roughly $500,000 for land. Trader Joe's will be right there. Any questions?
Great, thank you. We do have public testimony. Why don't we bring them up first before we ask any questions? Adam Milne, John Washington, and Al-Am Gray Prihiot. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll let you draw straws and decide who's first.
I'm bigger.
You're bigger. And you are?
I'm John Washington.
Thank you.
I prepared a little statement for you guys earlier today. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about the proposed development to bring Trader Joe's to the northeast of Portland. My name is John Washington, as I said earlier, and I'm the owner of Flossin Media. And I also am the Vice Chair of the Northeast Business Association. Today I'm speaking on behalf of myself and Flossin Media. In my experience in working with small businesses in the Northeast Portland, I understand that there's a lot of issues, and there's been a lot of conversation and talk about what's going on with Trader Joe's in the Northeast. Now, I'm not here to speak about the specifics of the deal. I'll leave that to the experts. But I do want to say that this is the kind of project that businesses and owners in the Vanport Square has always been promised, and it's a promise that needs to be kept. They need a kind of foot traffic that Trader Joe's and other retail businesses that will be in the location that will bring to this site. The economic and recession has been very hard on the Northeast Portland, and the project will jumpstart the local business opportunities in the area. But there's another point I'd like to make, and that's about the inclusiveness and diversity. The store will serve a diverse population, and as you heard earlier, that there's 40% of the population with a mile radius of the site are people of color, and twice the city's average. The store will also serve a low-income population. Over half of the households within a mile radius of the site has incomes of $35,000 a year, and 40% have incomes of under $25,000 a year. $25,000 a year. Now, you think about that when you think about the food oasis. There's still a compelling need for fresh, healthy, accessible, and affordable food in this area. Despite the high price points, stores like the newer ones that have come in, like New Seasons and Whole Foods, and even Safeway. I don't know when the last time any of you guys have shopped at Safeway. The prices are still kind of high. The neighborhood might be changing, as some people are saying, but lower income people of color are still in this neighborhood. And we'd certainly like to bring that to your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Adam Milne. I'm the owner of Old Town Pizza, an Old Town Brewing company, about as close to this site as you can get. I'm also a board member of Vanport Square Owner Association, as well as a neighbor that lives 3 blocks away, and have lived in the neighborhood for more than 15 years. Originally, I was going to give a quick glowing testimony and leave it at that, but in the last 24 hours, I've read a few articles that made me instead feel compelled to give a more candid perspective. 10 years ago, I went to PDC neighborhood meetings talking about this Vanport Square development. I believed in the neighborhood. I believed in the vision of Vanport Square that the city presented, this 3-block development of retail that would regenerate Martin Luther King Boulevard. And when others didn't want to come there, Vanport Square owners and myself risked our life savings and poured our hearts into this project. We were excited to be a part of something so exciting. After we all signed up, 24 Hour Fitness backed out and pulled the rug from underneath us. It's been 6 very hard years. There are some days when the restaurant is slow and I see empty tables, and I look out at that empty parking lot with cars going by on MLK and not stopping, and I wonder if this was all worth it. Vanport Square right now is on an island. There's not a lot of retail around us, and the only development we've seen is a 7-Eleven and a Pizza Hut. I can only think of 2 restaurants on MLK Boulevard that have made it longer than 10 years that aren't national fast food chains. It's a hard street to sustain a small business. Adding to our challenges, in 4 years, our interest rate with the city of Portland will increase 7-fold. We desperately need foot traffic before then. Now, I know the press article that has came out in the last 24 hours have presented some individuals that are critical of this project, but let me tell you that they are a small population of this neighborhood. I've reached out to every owner at Vanport Square, and we are overwhelmingly in support of this. The neighbors that I live next to are ecstatic, and in all the people that I've spoken to, only one person has been opposed to this project. I'm also a little confused in people viewing this as selling the land at a huge discount for $500,000. I know the appraised value says $2.8 million, but from the beginning of this project, it's been well known that the PDC was going to offer a discount for this property for the right development. I personally have reached out to the development community and tried to convince them to move to the site, them knowing that there would be some sort of discount on this property, but nobody has come forward and been interested. This area is not the Pearl District. It's not Northwest 23rd. It's not Beaverton. It's a street fighting for its life and needing development support. This is a huge opportunity for the neighborhood, but I have a really, really big concern. If someone as desirable as Trader Joe's can't make this happen, I truly believe the property will be tainted. It's my belief that if a project this good fails, the development community will not want to touch this block, and it will sit vacant for another 10 or 20 years. Please, please vote yes and support this project. This is a great proposal that will regenerate MLK Boulevard. It will create a place for neighbors to walk and bike. It will help build a healthy community. I've been to neighborhood PDC meetings for a decade, and this is what we've all asked for. Coincidentally, in the meetings that we had over the last 10 years, the #1 business choice was Trader Joe's. And I applaud the PDC staff for putting this deal together. Please support this and help fulfill the promises made to the neighborhood and the owners at Vanport Square. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alam Gavrayot, and I am the owner of Queen Shiva restaurant. I have been on the street for over 20 years. When I opened my business first, you would not see any walker, let alone walkers, on their foot. You don't even see that 10 cars in 1 hour driving by on MLK. When I opened my business, people thought I was crazy, but didn't have anything else to do, so I did it. And I've been dreaming for the last 20 years on MLK to be the road that really we expect to be. It's a great street. It's just a great destination, great part of the city. Yet PDC have tried entirely for a long time to change that street. It's not that PDC haven't tried. PDC have tried a lot. I have been on a lot of meetings, and there has been a lot of effort, but hasn't been done any success. Nothing happened successfully. In the last few years, there are a few buildings that came up, but cannot fit this street. It needs something more than little mom and pop stores. So having something like Trader Joe is a great thing. I'm also one of the owners, first buyer of the Vanport Square. I'm glad I backed it up, and whatever I lost on that property, I'm glad I ran away, because like my friend, I would have been suffering, and probably I wouldn't have been here. The price of what Trader Joe might be paying is just twofold of that 1,000 square feet that I paid for. But it's not about that. What Trader Joe might bring, could have I bring that kind of economy to the neighborhood? No. Trader Joe is a good store. It brings competition to the other expensive stores that are in the neighborhood, and it brings great traffic. The other stores are also the same thing, bringing traffic to the neighborhood, and that's what we need. It's not what we pay off, what the city is getting little money, but what the neighborhood might get is very important. And we need great things on MLK, and this is a good thing. Sacrifice might be paid, but it's all right. This is great, and we hope you support this thing, and other businesses also may come in the future on other spots too. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one more person signed up for testimony, but I wanted to make sure that Commissioner Moelis or Commissioner Strauss didn't have questions for the three that are at the table at this point.
I don't have any questions, Scott. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks for
very
coming
much,
in.
gentlemen. And Michael Rasmussen.
Hi there, thank you for letting me comment. My name is Michael Rasmussen. I live on Rodney Avenue, about a 3-minute walk from this site. I bought a house in the neighborhood 15 years ago, and shortly thereafter, someone slid a copy of the Vanport plan to me and said, "This is the coolest thing that's ever happened." And I proceeded to tell everyone I knew, "You can't believe what's going to go in our neighborhood." And we went through trials and tribulations. We went to every meeting to talk about what was going to happen there. And in the meantime, my property taxes went from $2,000 a year to almost $6,000 a year on the same house. And that's fine. I knew it was coming, and it was worth it. What I wanted to do was let you know that we've actually already made up the difference in the cost or the value to what it's being sold for. If you look at the people that bought houses there 15 years ago, based on the amazing things that were going to happen, the property tax for everyone has gone up about the same as mine, and that bill's been paid. On top of that, the businesses that located there, Adams is one of them, are really looking forward to having a partner, another business in the area that will bring people in. I've sat through meetings and looked at other businesses that had indicated interest in the property and maybe would bring 50, 100 clients a day to their location. That's not what we need. We need traffic. We need consumers. We need clients. The other thing is that we have other grocery stores in the neighborhood. It's been awesome that Whole Foods has gone in. It's been amazing the access to food that we've gotten. But if you go there now, if you go there right now, the parking lots are full. So one more grocery store isn't going to take away from anyone else. The neighbors on my side of Killingsworth, I live on the opposite side of Killingsworth from this project, would all be very excited. The only concern I got today when I walked around the neighborhood and told people that I was coming is make sure this isn't a Walmart. And I'm glad to see Trader Joe's right in front of me here. So I think that you know, it has been, the difference has been paid for if we need to talk about that. And the opportunity to continue the great work that's been done on MOK and Killingsworth, this is it. So please vote yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jina? Do you want to? Yeah, right.
Philip Brown, ooh, Philip from Majestic. Philip is the developer of this project and has been working just tirelessly for over 2 years that I know of towards this project. If you would like to give us a couple comments.
Yes, first of all, Philip Brown with Majestic Realty, and very happy and thankful to be here. As Jina said, we've worked with your staff for over 2 years now, almost 2.5 years, and the genesis of this project was really twofold. Majestic was looking to continue development into the Pacific Northwest. We've always had an eye on Portland. We've always been very aggressive in wanting to kind of set our stakes in this town and try to better the community. And through driving the areas, we ended up finding the site. PDC had put out a request for proposals to grocery stores, and it seemed like a great marriage for us to be able to try to work with PDC staff and try to bring a grocer to the area that the citizens wanted, the neighbors wanted, and to try to help build traffic, both vehicular, pedestrian, and cycling, all kinds of traffic. So we spent a lot of time analyzing the market. This has not been an easy transaction for anyone involved, and as I said, my hat's off to the PDC staff because they really have worked tirelessly on this. The fun things for us is we get very excited about helping energize neighborhoods. Grocery stores are a little bit unique in that they employ large numbers of people within their stores. They typically pay a higher than minimum wage, and they act as a catalyst. And that catalyst helps drive consumers into an area. It benefits the surrounding businesses, both across the street at Vanport, some of the new retailers that we'll look to bring in just to the north end of the site, And what we try to do is we try to balance the shopping center. This is a smaller project, so we understand there's not a huge amount that we can do to it, but we'll try to seed it with both national retailers as well as local retailers. And we hope those local retailers can benefit from the traffic generated from Trader Joe's and from the other businesses, Old Town Pizza and the other businesses that are in the area. So we're very excited about it. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any of those questions.
Great, thank you. Why don't you stay with Jina there while we go through the thoughts on this. There seem to be kind of three major concerns with this project. The sale price versus the appraised price, which you talked about in terms of putting into context of appraisal for highest and best use. Highest and best use in this case, probably a multi-story apartment building with retail at the bottom. And so how do we come to the $500,000 number? What's the process that you go to?
Well, we first started with trying to look at the project from whether or not we could even pencil it as an economic transaction. Philip and I worked for months just looking at the project costs in terms of new construction. Generally, this particular tenant wouldn't even go into a new construction retail center because of the cost involved. So we looked at the project from an overall, how can we get the job done? And then as we analyzed each section of the project overall cost, it came to fruition that you couldn't pay an appraised market value to do any new market construction of this type on the site, regardless of your tenant. So we rolled up our sleeves, looked at our numbers, and the developer agreed to put in pure equity and take a way below market return, and PDC looked to get the benefit of all of the community benefits we look towards, as well as all of our projects being enhanced and actually completing the vision that was originally created for the Vanport development.
Good answer. I'd also point out that the difference between the high-rise apartment with retail at the bottom and what you see in terms of site coverage here gives you some sense. I mean, there is no revenue associated with the 100 parking spaces that have to go on this site. And there is no way that you could put a use that's going to drive traffic to the neighborhood and without providing a place for those people to park. So that's another driving force, obviously, in terms of what makes the economics here. The second is a little bit in terms of neighborhood involvement. And actually, you've been here a relatively short period of time, but I know that there is a long history of neighborhood involvement. Could you touch on that a little bit in terms of all the way from Vanport 1 through current?
I think I could, I mean, I did an overview, and thank you, yes, I've had exactly 19 months today here. And I think perhaps Esty, would you like to come up and speak too? She's been one of the amazing staff team members that have worked diligently on this for how many years? Over 10?
Well, off and on, lots of off and on. So there's actually others here, Sarah King and others who could speak to maybe paint a bigger picture. But over the years, there's been, we've had a Vanport Project Advisory Committee that was organized with, I think when the King commercial strategy was first put together in 2000, and that met for years, talked about visions for the site and ideal tenants and development projects for the 2 blocks. They helped craft the first phase and worked with PDC through those number of years to build the phase 1 as well as phase 2. And then as this phase, as we focused on this off and on over those years too, trying to get something to go along with the first 2 phases, they met periodically. Sarah King has been involved and in communication with the King Neighborhood Association as well as the Vanport businesses throughout. But given the the high confidentiality that this particular anchor grocer wanted, we have been very intentionally sort of waiting to see if and when we had a deal. And so we haven't been able, Sarah again has continued to speak with neighbors and with the Vanport businesses and members of the original PAC, but we have not met formally for the last number of months as this deal has been coming together. And so But it's been a long, there's Mike Rasmussen, lots of folks have been on the Vanport Advisory Committee off and on over the years, and as deals have come and gone until this one.
And
I believe there's a community meeting tonight, is that correct?
Is.
I was just going to ask,
Sorry,
where are
sorry.
we going from here?
Sorry.
Yes, I know there's a community involvement plan from here on.
Okay, I can speak for the meeting at 6:30 this evening, which is a already scheduled, the neighborhood meeting. Tomorrow, you want to speak to?
Right, tomorrow morning, so tonight's the King Neighborhood Association meeting where Philip's coming out and presenting the plan, hearing directly from neighbors. Tomorrow morning, the Vanport Square businesses are gathering. Adam Milne helped organize that. And then, I think your team is open to meetings as necessary to sort of work through the site plan concepts.
Yeah, I think there's, if I could interject, there's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. We didn't want to go too far with the neighborhoods until we had something put together instead of getting people's hopes up, because it's our understanding that's happened a few times in the past. So we wanted to come here, obviously, get the approval, and then sit down and meet with the neighborhood associations as necessary.
And one thing I would like to let everyone know that is a big secret, that the tenant was a secret too, but this particular site that they chose to come to, they were not looking at any other site in Portland. They were determining whether they were going to put their money and their commitment in this site or another state. They only do a few openings a year. It might have been Austin, it might have been Santa Fe, it might have been Atlanta. They made the commitment with the hard work in conjunction with Majestic to choose this site.
No, I appreciate that. Patrick, did you have? I interrupted you. You interrupted me. Your turn.
No. I was just wanted to remind us, because I forgot the schedule for the King Neighborhood Association meeting, so it is tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Esty. And I really, is Sarah here back there someplace? I mean, from the first day I was at PDC, I think the first month I was hauled out there to Vanport 1. And I know Sarah has, been absolutely tireless in terms of working the neighborhood and working developers and working retailers. And, thanks for all your hard work from our standpoint, and I think is from the neighborhood standpoint as well. That covers my questions. Commissioner Molas?
Just a couple of thoughts, I guess, rather than questions, but obviously anytime we vote to approve a deal where there's a subsidy, that can raise some people's eyes, and I think staff's put a lot of due diligence into this, and is it the exact right number by $1 or $2? I'm not sure, but I know what I don't want to see is have us push back, and 10 years from now that site is still sitting empty. So it seems to me there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of good faith efforts put into this to date, and I'm in support of the project. The other thing I would like to go on record, I know personally as a commissioner, and I know Lentz still wants a grocery store. Sometime when you're out here, you should maybe have one of the staffers take you out and drive you around Lentz and take a look at the opportunities out there. I don't see that this lessens our commitment to help get a similar grocery store into Lentz by one iota. It's a deal that worked in this area, and hopefully sometime in the future, we're going to find a deal that works in Lentz. I don't think this lessens, by making this commitment in that neighborhood, it doesn't lessen our commitment to Lentz to try and find them a suitable grocery store as well.
Right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Commissioner Strauss?
Well, first I want to echo Commissioner Molas's comments. I think he's right on the money, and I'm all in on Lentz also. I want to say this is exactly why the PDC exists. We know it's tough to make these kinds of decisions. We know that sometimes public pressure may try to sway us to do something different, but this is the right thing for the neighborhood. This is the right thing for the community, and it's going to invigorate that place like nothing you've ever seen. So I'm all excited about it, and I'm definitely all in on this one.
Thank you, Commissioner, and again, thanks for taking time out of your busy day to help us get through this one today. So I'm going to look for.
Scott, can I just before you finish, I just want to echo what John talked about from a staff perspective. Commissioner Moles is exactly right. There's nothing about this action, both in terms of our staff commitment to making this happen or the dollars involved, that in any way precludes us from getting something to happen in Lentz and other deserving areas. I don't want to get into the nuances of urban renewal. These are different pots of money, so this is not money that could have been spent in any other geography other than the interstate urban renewal area. And I can attest that staff have spent the same amount, if not greater hours, searching for an appropriate deal in Lentz, and we have had the same, if not greater, dollars available throughout to make a deal happen in Lentz. If anybody here is interested in a developer or is interested in Lentz, they can hold me accountable for that. I'm happy to talk with anybody about that opportunity, but we do remain committed to it. I know that that's the narrative right now, but these are not either or. They're not mutually exclusive. We can achieve the same kind of success in Lentz and other parts of East Portland that we're going to achieve here on this site. And as executive director, I'm committed to making that happen. So.
Great, thank you. And actually, I'm glad that you interrupted me because there were two other things that I wanted to make a point of. One is we did have a letter presented by Patricia Ann Burkett, which I will make sure that all the commissioners get, and she was not in support of this project. The second is, just to be very consistent today, the equity policy, the rebuilding policy, the prevailing wage policy will all meet our required standards. So, with that, I will look for a motion to approve Resolution 7033, authorizing a disposition and development agreement to convey 1.79 acres of real property in the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal Area to Majestic Realty for $502,160.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Can't wait to see the opening.
Thank you very much, yeah.
All right, with that, there are no more items on the agenda. We are adjourned. Thanks for your time today. Thank you, Steve. He's working.
Thanks so much. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Thanks.